Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be painting a watercolor tree peony. So let's do it. Okay, so to start, I'm just going to go through my materials. I have my Arches cold press watercolor paper, my WINSOR Newton Professional watercolors in my paint palette. I also have my Princeton snap brushes in a size 6 and a size 12, and water and paper towel, and we're ready to go. Hopefully I can speak a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to introduce you to this book, The Flower Color Guide. I got it off Amazon, and it is a great guide to tons and tons and tons of reference photos for these flowers. I'm gonna put a link in the description below to this book on Amazon. It is wonderful, and I've kind of just put little stickies of flowers that I wanted to try and paint, and it's really fun to just kind of have. So we're gonna try and paint this tree peony today. So I took a photo of it, and I have it in front of me because I can't really put it in frame, and I will also try and put it at the bottom of the screen somewhere so you guys can see it, but that's what we're gonna try and do today. So we're not gonna make it realistic, but we are gonna try and do a bit more of a loose version of it. And depending on how it goes, I might end up using gouache for the center stamen at the end because it's a pretty nice bright yellow and I just want it to pop, so we might be playing around with the stamen after. But for now, we're just gonna try and paint this and see how it goes. Okay, so I'm just gonna mix up, it's kind of like a light yellowish peach color. And I already had this peach in my palette, which I think was permanent rose and cadmium yellow. And I'm just gonna water this down. I'm using my size 12 brush, and we're just gonna do some really loose petal shapes with some ridges at the end. So let's start with the one up here. And we're gonna imagine that this is kind of the center of the flower, okay? And I'm just gonna do these loose petal shapes coming from that center. Really watering that color down, like that. Like so. Okay. Then I'm gonna take a little bit of permanent rose, just a little bit, and I'm gonna tap the edges because it kind of has this pink just at the edges. Like so. Like that. And then it gets a little bit darker towards the center. So I'm just going to take this pink that I have here and just put it close to the center, letting it bleed while it's still wet. Just dragging some lines to the center. Might make some of those tips a little bit darker. And make sure your petals are wet when you're doing this so that it has a nice bleed. Like that. Okay, and then there's some more petals around. So I'm just washing off my brush. We're gonna go back into that peachy color, and I'm gonna do some some petals in the background too. I'm gonna try and leave a little bit of white space between these front petals, but we'll see what happens. Okay, just making it really loose. Try not to worry too much of it, just be really, really loose with your hand. Okay. Like so. Again, I'm going to take that peach color or that pink color and go around the tips of these petals. Like so. And some of the base of them too, where they're meeting other ones. Just like that. Okay. And then you can always do some really, really delicate lines. Some of mine is already drying pretty fast. It's okay though. It happens. Okay, and there you go. Now let's try and do maybe another one over here, a bit more open. Okay, so we're grabbing our peach again. Imagine our center of our flowers here, okay? Let's do some loose petal shapes. Really try and wet it up so it doesn't dry too fast. I know that is kind of a problem for some of them, and I have that problem too, like I did here. You can see those lines are pretty, wonder if I can, here we go. I'm just gonna wet up that whole area again and see if it'll bleed better. There. Sometimes that happens, that's okay. I'm gonna have shorter petals on this side because maybe it's curved up a bit. I'm gonna do some of those ones behind. Okay. I know it looks a little odd. Now we're gonna grab our pink, tap it in those edges of the petals. And then the center, making sure you're dragging your lines to the center, so when you lift your paintbrush up, it kind of expands in the center, not at the edge. I don't know if that makes sense. Like this. Gotta love when your family knows you're filming and they're just like, what? I'll be loud anyway. Okay, so there we go. You can see that's kind of looking a little bit weird there, but that's okay. Might add a little bit more peach here. Okay, there, and then let's do one more, like a side view. Okay, so here's the base, kind of where the stem is gonna be. We'll just do some side petals like this. Very loose. I don't even know what I'm doing there. It's all good. Sometimes I paint and I'm just like, what am I actually doing? Okay, and then the tips of the petals, drop in that pink. And then the base. And then maybe inside a bit. Like that. Okay, so now let's do the stems, just so we can place them where we want. So I'm just gonna grab a green. I have this dark green here. Use whatever green you like. And I'm just going to, behind that flower, I'm gonna draw a stem down here. And you can touch it a little bit if you like. It's totally up to you. Like that. And then we're just gonna have some of the leaves poking out from behind those petals. That's my dog being scared of something. I'm gonna go back in with some darker green and just tap the bottoms of those petals to a little bit of darkness. Like that. I feel like I have a bit more here. My paper is drying super fast today, and I think it's because I'm under my studio lights and they heat up really fast, so that's why my paper is drying really fast. Okay, so there we go. Now I'm gonna wait for it to completely dry and then we can add a bit of shadow. Okay, now it's dry. I'm gonna take that peach color again. We're just gonna make it a bit more saturated. And I'm just gonna add some darker rough shadows to some of the ones behind, to the center. And then you can even take your brush, let's take a smaller brush actually, a size 6, and just really minimal paint and just maybe do some lines curving with the shape of the petals. Ooh. No, there we go. That was a bit too thick. Okay, and then even some pink from the tips of the petals. Just to give it a bit more texture. Like that. Actually, I needed to do the bigger one here. Really get some of that shadow in there. I don't know if you can hear my son. No, no, no. Now get some color and do the little lines. Really light pressure and just the tip of your brush. Okay, then I'm gonna get a darker red. So let's get some of this permanent rose, and I'm gonna do some alizarin red. Maybe a little bit of dioxazine purple just to darken it up. More red. I'm just gonna do some deeper parts in the center, and then we're gonna go over the top the center with some gouache. Okay. I really love the contrast of the light flowers and then this darker center. Like that. Okay. All right. And now, while we're waiting for that to dry, let's just do a bit more detail on our leaves. So I'm just going to take this Perline green, and I'm just going to darken one side of the leaves just to give it a bit more contrast. So I'll go down the center here and darken one side with this, just for a bit more style. Still loose. Like that. I might do another one back here just to even it all out. Let me get my bigger brush. Again, just making it really loose. Like so. Okay, so once you're done that, you can start mixing your gouache. Okay, I am going to put my watercolors to the side, and I'm gonna take this lemon yellow, I think, just a little bit. Ooh, hope that's not dried. Nope, we're good. Make sure you put your caps back on tight. Not like I just did, apparently. Okay, a little bit of white. And I might even try a little bit of yellow ochre. Okay. So make sure your centers are dry before you do this. Okay, so we can only see the centers of these two, so these are the only two that we're gonna be doing. I'm gonna take my size 6 brush. I'm gonna take this yellow, and I'm just gonna add some water to get a nice creamy consistency. I'm gonna add a bit of white, maybe a little bit of the yellow ochre. Add a bit more water, and you want a nice like creamy consistency. Okay, and then the center of these, they're really nice, like long, kind of almost like stems. They're interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna take off some of that paint, and I'm actually, you know what? I'm gonna use a smaller brush. I lied. I was just looking at my paintbrush, and I'm like, that's too big. Okay. I got my size 2, and we're just gonna do some fun little like lines. I'm actually gonna start with some darker ones. We're just gonna fill the center of this peony stamen with these kind of like, how can I explain this? They're like little squiggly lines. This, okay? That's cool. Okay, so we're doing the darker yellow first. Because with gouache, you can layer light colors on top, unlike watercolor. Watercolor is transparent, gouache is more opaque, so you can actually get lighter colors on top of darker colors, which is awesome. Which is also why we're using gouache right now. Okay, I'm just gonna dab some darker bits in there. Fill in those white areas. Okay, really do these squiggly lines. Okay, and then you're gonna wait for that to dry. Okay, so we have our dark center, and now we're gonna go in with that really light, bright, yellowy white bit on top. And those are like the more highlighted areas, and this should pop a bit more. Just do the squiggly bits over top. Get a bit more white in there. Like that. Like that. You can even do a couple over here if you like, popping out. But that's basically it. And there you go. There is your tree peony using watercolor and a little bit of gouache. Thank you all so much for watching my video. I really hope you liked it, and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and follow me on Instagram and Facebook for even more. Have a great day, guys. Bye.